We are honored, and it gives me great personal pleasure to have the United States Representative of the 14th Congressional District and Chairman of the House Democratic Caucus, Congressman Joseph Crowley, as our commencement speaker. Joe is a native of Woodside, Queens, and a lifelong New Yorker. His dad was a city cop who got his law degree from St. John's because Truro didn't exist yet. And his delightful mother is an immigrant from County Armagh, Ireland. Joe has served the people of the Bronx and Queens with distinction for more than 3 decades. Before being elected to Congress in 1998, Joe earned a bachelor's degree from Queens College, ran a successful small business for nearly 10 years, represented the 30th Assembly District in the New York State Legislature for another 10, during which time he and our graduate John Flanagan became good friends, which tells you something about both of them. Neither one is partisan. They both act in the best interest of their constituents. In December 2016, Joe was elected as chair of the Democratic Caucus, the 4th highest ranking position in the House Democratic leadership. He's also chairman of the Congressional Musicians Caucus, and I think the best musician in the United States Congress. As a secondary matter, he's a member of the Ways and Means Committee of the United States Congress. Pretty powerful position. And Congressman Crowley's achievements include the Crime Stoppers program, which has provided millions in federal funding to local neighborhoods for graffiti cleanup, after-school programming, and civic patrol efforts. All things that we need and have availed ourselves of in the neighborhood in which we find ourselves at the law school. He played a leading role in the Urban Area Security Initiative, which targets Homeland Security funding for at-risk urban centers, resulting in more than $950 million to make airports, train stations, and ports safer. And the landmark James Zadroga 9/11 Health and Compensation Act, which provides 9/11 first responders with health monitoring and care. And Joe, I hope you won't mind my mentioning that one of your cousins died on September 11th, a firefighter. John. Nobody stopped to ask whether John was a Democrat or a Republican. Nobody stopped to ask who his parents were or where he came from. John died for all of us and represents public service, unstinting, faithful, nonpartisan, that Joe also represents. It's my privilege to introduce my dear friend, Representative Joe Crowley, who will deliver the commencement address. Joe.
Thanks. Oh, that's okay. Don't worry. That's fine. Don't worry about it. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Thank you, Harry. Thank you very much. First of all, let me say to you that I don't have a cap on. It's not that I didn't want to wear a cap or I was afraid of messing up my beautiful hair. It's just that I can't get one of these standard caps to fit this big fat head of mine. So I hope you take no offense, graduating class of 2017. But congratulations to the class of Truro Law School, class of 2017. I'm tremendously honored to be here this afternoon, and I'm particularly honored to be recognized as one of your own by, I'm told, receiving an honorary degree. You know, not long after I graduated from college, I was considering law school myself, but I was approached with an opportunity to run for the state legislature, where I eventually met John Flanagan. We both served as freshman members at the same time. But I was torn. My father, who was a trial lawyer in Queens, New York, said, you can always go to law school, but you can't always run for the New York State legislature. So I ran for office. And I was successful. I won. I mean, I didn't win my class presidency in college, but I won this assembly district. And it started me on an incredible journey. But part of me always wonders about what the other road would have been like. That's why I'm particularly thrilled to be here today to receive an honorary law degree today. So, Dad, I got my law degree. I promise you I won't use it. Don't worry, folks. It's okay. I want to thank the entire Touro College family for inviting me. Dr. Alan Kadish, your president, Patricia Salkin, the provost, and graduate and professional divisions. And as I said earlier, my dear friend, Harry Ballin, the dean and professor of law here at Touro Law Center. Thank you also to the members of the Touro College and Touro Law Center administration and faculty, to all of your professors who have led our graduates to this point. And to the distinguished judges who are here today with us today, thank you for your service to your constituency and to your country. But of course, the biggest and the greatest applause must go to our graduates, to our friends and family, those who have supported all of you on this wonderful journey of study. Congratulations to you and your families. I know a bit about what you're feeling. I come from a family that loves the law. My dad was the oldest of 7, as Harry had mentioned, who was the first to become a New York City cop, like his father, and then went to college and law school on the GI Bill. My mom is the daughter of immigrants and an immigrant herself. She never attended college, but she worked as a legal secretary. She raised 4 children and gave us every opportunity she possibly could. She was and still is the smartest woman I've ever met. And she and my father went on to raise 4 successful children. My older sister Maura is a teacher. My sister Eileen is a small business entrepreneur. My brother Sean is an attorney. I won't say where he went to law school. And I'm a member of Congress. And then there was my cousin John, who Harry mentioned before, my first cousin, John Moran. He was a New York City battalion chief, who also graduated with honors from, I will mention, Fordham University Law School. John was passionate about the law. He loved the U.S. Constitution and how it was written, not for scholars, but for the common man to understand. I think a lot of you can identify with that, having chosen this path. I always thought that John would become a great law professor. But John had a different destiny, and that brought him to the South Tower on September 11, 2001. I think about John every day, but particularly when I think about young people following similar paths of law and public service. I love speaking at commencement ceremonies and seeing the next generation of leaders beginning their journeys. In higher education, it's called commencement, as was mentioned earlier, because it isn't seen as the end of your education. Rather, it is seen as the beginning of putting your education to use. You all should be very proud of your accomplishments. You have shown dedication and commitment. You have studied hard, and you have burned the midnight oil to help build a better future for yourselves, your family, your town, your city, your state, and your country. Just being here is an achievement. You all come from many different backgrounds with your own stories to tell. Many of you, like me, might be the children and grandchildren of immigrants. You might be the first in your family to have attended college and law school. You might have worked your way through school, balancing studies and shifts. But you're all here today. You have all demonstrated that it doesn't take elite privilege to achieve great things. I'm a working class kid from Woodside, Queens, New York, and I've been incredibly fortunate in my life. Like so many immigrant families, I know my ancestors came here dreaming of a better way of life, not just for themselves, but for me. Even if they never imagined I would someday be fortunate enough to represent my hometown in the United States Congress. While serving in Congress is a tremendous privilege, it's also an enormous responsibility, and one that I take extremely seriously. That's why I work so hard in Congress to make sure that every child in America has these same opportunities to succeed. I know there are times when it seems our country is hopelessly divided along all kinds of class and cultural lines. But we must recognize that we cannot let disparities in income, in healthcare, or in education block any child from reaching his or her full potential. That is why I feel so strongly about things like reforming our immigration system, helping people earn a living wage, and making sure everyone has access to affordable health care. That's why I want to ensure that college and law school are within the reach of students and their families. And that's why I've worked hard as a leader in Queens to make sure our judicial system reflects our very communities. I have fought to increase diversity at all levels of the judiciary. Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor, a New Yorker herself from the Bronx, has so eloquently spoken about how experiences and backgrounds shape judicial views. And I believe in that. I want to have judges who reflect the wide variety of New Yorkers' backgrounds and beliefs. Because I want every person who enters a courtroom in New York to know and to trust that there are people who look like they do, wearing a judge's robe. They may not be before them, but they know they're there. And not just that they wear those robes, but they have walked in their very shoes. That's also why I'm committed to ensuring that access to justice is never blocked or limited. My family inspired me to ensure opportunity, not just for the few, not just for me, but for all. That's where I call on all of you. Because a lot of the ways we can ensure opportunity for all come through our legal system. By ensuring that friend and foe alike can walk into a courtroom and get a fair shake. It's often been said that ours is a nation of laws. But those words, nation of laws, only have meaning when the powerless are equal to the powerful, when the poor are equal to the rich, and the playing field is equal for all. We must ensure every American has equal access to our justice system and equal ability to use the law to protect him or herself. Because if only a few wealthy or well-connected individuals have the ability to seek justice, then we lose our way as a nation. That is why lawyers and legal advocates and judges are so important to our society. Our judicial system is what protects the voiceless, the hurt, and the disenfranchised. And whenever rights and justice are threatened, it is the esteemed members of our legal community, you, who respond. They provide the free legal advice in understanding areas. They work to exonerate falsely accused death row inmates. They stand up to injustice and threats to the rule of law from wherever they come, even if it means upholding the Constitution from an airport floor and a laptop, like we saw in JFK earlier this year. And it's not just lawyers, but the judges and clerks and the rest of our legal system who deserve our utmost appreciation. Not to be attacked for their heritage or where they serve, just because they dare to uphold the standard of law. It is that strong and independent judiciary that is so vital to our Constitution. That respect for rule of law, that commitment to fairness and equality, working towards goals that unite and not divide, and ensuring laws help people and not hurt people. You will all be a part of a justice system that epitomizes fairness and fair play and represents the good in all of us. That's what our legal system is all about, what the men and women here today are all about, and what a free people ought to be about. So as you go forward, I know you will keep these tenets in mind, but I hope you do more than that. I hope you engage with the world around you on the issues and the vital debates of today. You will all soon have a valuable perspective from your places in the courtroom. As a policymaker, I want to hear from those on the front line, particularly when it comes to issues of justice and legal access. I want to know how our laws and statutes are affecting people in the real world. It's those real-world experiences that have helped shift thinking over the years. The stories of plaintiffs harmed by faulty products. The tragedies of defendants subjected to overly harsh sentences instead of drug addiction treatment. The civil rights violations experienced by so many groups that were marginalized by outdated laws. It is lawyers who make a difference, not just in the judicial system, but in changing our laws and policies as well. You are a force for change, but more importantly, you're a force for good. Each of you has your own path forward, and it may not be easy. In fact, it probably won't be. This is a challenging time in our country, and you are going to face adversity. But as you go out into the world to try and make it a better place, I hope you will take to heart the words of one of my heroes, a Republican, Abraham Lincoln. In replying to a young man who sought his advice on becoming a lawyer, Lincoln told him, "Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any one thing." He was right. Because of your time here at Touro, you have the skills and the resolution that you need. You have the ability to comprehend the world and the people around you. But I want you to also caution you not to let your resolution to succeed be the only important thing. No matter what the field of law you go into, you're going to be taking on challenging work and very demanding work. I'm sure that many of you will identify with your clients personally. You will think about them and their cases long after the workday is ended. I know that feeling. As a member of Congress and a member of the House leadership, the issues I face don't go away once I enter my home. I'm unbelievably fortunate to have a family that keeps me grounded and keeps things in perspective. Whether it's my oldest son about to go off to the Naval Academy Prep School in a couple of months, or my 16-year-old daughter who told me earlier this year that she absolutely had to positively march in the Women's March on Washington, or my wife who's a nurse, or my youngest son with so much potential ahead of him. They are always on my mind. And the millions of families just like ours who are relying on people like me and people like you to do the right thing. They remind me not just about the fights that I'm fighting in my profession, but what I'm fighting for and who I'm fighting for. I hope that all of you find that balance, that while law and politics are fascinating, they're not everything. I have to turn off the TV sometimes. Find people and passions, interests and experience that move you and that fulfill you. Trust me, it will make you better at what you do. The more experiences you have and people you interact with, the more you will understand the world around you. One of the most important things I ever learned, and have continued to learn in Congress, is this. In order to learn about change, you have to have an open mind and broaden your understanding of others. But to help participating in creating that change, you also have to be able to show others where you come from. You have to tell your story and the stories of people around you and of people like you, so others understand why you feel and think the way you do. I know that's something you will come into experiencing as lawyers. You will be the storytellers for your clients and for your causes. And I know that having been so well trained under the leadership of Dr. Kadish and the Provost Salkin and Dean Ballin and all of your faculty here and the rest of the Touro family, you will do just that. Touro Law School graduates have gone on to great things, and you're joining an impressive alumni roster. There's actually one Touro Law grad I know quite well. She's a colleague of mine, Congresswoman Kathleen Rice. In fact, I think we might be in her district. Kathleen is one of our brightest and most hardworking members, and I know that Touro does a pretty good job of training its graduates. Maybe one of you will join us in Congress someday. But whatever the next steps are, for you and for your loved ones, I know they'll be great ones. Congratulations, class of 2017.
Thank you, Joe, for those very inspiring remarks. Will Dr. Kadish please join me at the podium? It's an honor to have the opportunity to recognize Representative Joe Crowley for his many years of distinguished public service. Joe, it is my privilege and pleasure to present you to Dr. Kadish at this time as a candidate for the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa.
Thank you very much, Dean Ballin. Joseph Crowley, upon the recommendation of the Touro College Jacob D. Fuchsberg Law Center, as president of Touro College, and as approved by the Board of Trustees of the Touro College and University System, and the Board of Regents of the State University of New York, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa, with all the rights and privileges that relate to it. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, sir.
Right.